go ahead and set our standard high so that when we do good on the test, you can, you know, feel good about yourself, because everybody wants to do good. This is a very important test. This determines if you get into nursing school or if you don't. This determines if somebody gets your spot or if you get somebody's spot. You know what I mean? So take this very seriously. Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. It's your girl Ebony, where we're all things nursing, cooking, and lifestyle. If you're new to my channel, hey boo hey, and if you like this video or any of my other videos, please don't hesitate to subscribe, like, and tell a friend. So let's just jump right into the video. A few of you guys have been asking me about how to prepare for the TEAS and what to expect for the TEAS. Was it hard? How long did you study? All that. So I'm about to go over that all right now. And so I promise you, if you follow these steps, you're gonna do good on that TEAS. You're gonna do amazing on that TEAS, okay? So your girl took the time to write down, y'all, a strategy on how to ace this TEAS. So let's just get into how the ATI TEAS test is, how it's set up, I guess is the best word for it. So excuse me if I'm looking down. I got this strictly from the ATI website, how the test is broken down. So if you want to look that up to just, you know, verify what I'm saying, you're more than welcome to. So most of you guys should know, if you're taking the TEAS, you should know what you're going to be tested on. If not, I'm going to give it to you right now. So you're going to be tested on reading, math, science, and English. Those 4 subjects. So for reading, it's 53 questions. You have 64 minutes to take it. The math section is 36 questions, 54 minutes to take it. Science is 53 questions and you have 63 minutes to take it. And English, 28 questions, 28 minutes. So that's a total of 209 minutes total for all 4 sections, which equals to 170 questions. So you're taking a 170 question test as your nursing entrance exam to get into your preferred school of choice. So at this point, most of us are pretty familiar with how standardized testing is. So I'm not going to go into great detail about what questions are on these, these 4 categories, but I can give you some type of insight on, a little bit of how it's going to go. So reading is testing your comprehension. Are you able to read a passage and, comprehend that passage? And you have to be very, very careful with the reading, because it can trick you up. You think they're asking you something, but they're looking for something else. So make sure when I know this from experience, y'all. I took this TEAS 3 times. I should have said that at the beginning. I took this 3 times, so I kind of know how it goes. So the reading is very important for you to actually read that material, read that essay fully, and then go to the questions. A lot of us are used to, I know I used to do this. Okay, I'm not reading this whole passage. I'm just going to look at the question first and then see if I can fish my answer in this paragraph. No. You need to read the whole thing, because the questions are kind of tricky on the TEAS, and I'm really good at reading, but I kind of struggled with this part because it was a little bit different for me. But expect that for the reading part. So the math section is pretty much algebra. It's college algebra. So very basic math equations. It's nothing too difficult. It's not statistics or all that trigonometry math, all that. It's none of that. It's basic college algebra. If you struggle with algebra, definitely study it and just practice it until you get it, because that's the majority of the questions are algebra type questions. So if you're good at that, you're cool. For me, I'm good at algebra. I didn't really study for this, and I did very well on this part. So now on to science, honey. Let me tell y'all, that science, I'm not gonna lie, that science section is difficult. And let me tell you why it's difficult. It's difficult because it's such a variety of sciences in the 53 question bank. So you have A&P, most definitely A&P. You have chemistry, you have biology, you have life sciences, you have, regular biology, you have I don't know what kind of science this is, just basic science, like how scientific method is. Just, you know, it just pulls from all types of sciences that you may be familiar with, you may not be familiar with. So that's the most difficult thing about the science part, is because it's such a variety of sciences that you have to be prepared for. So the last section being English with 28 questions for 28 minutes. So this is your shortest amount of questions and also your shortest amount of time that you have to take it. So basically you have 1 minute per question on this section. And honestly, this section was difficult for me. English is my top favorite subject. Like, I'm so good at English. I know how to spell very well. I know the differences between, you know, to and to, you know, your and your, there and there. I know all of that. So I wasn't really too worried about studying for this, but honestly, it's a little bit more tricky than it seems. So make sure you spend the proper amount of time on the English section so that you can do good on that. So let me break down what I personally did on the TEAS. So like I said earlier in the video, I took the TEAS 3 times, honey. $90, $95, too much. So don't be like me. Take it one time and knock it out the park, okay? So the test is too expensive to be, you know, key. And if you have to, that's what you have to do. But for me, the first time I took it, I actually made way over what the requirement of my school required. My school required a 65%. The first time I took the TEAS, I made a 78. So I could have taken that score, which I did take that score, and I did not get into my program the first time. So then I took it a second time and I actually made lower. I made a 76 something. So I went down 2 points. And then I took some time and I really studied, I really applied myself, and I made a 80.7, an 81. So a 76 from an 81, that's 5 points, and I really worked for those 5 points, and that's what got me into the nursing program, was that 80.7. So I'm making this video so you guys don't have to waste your money on taking it 2 and 3 and 4 times. Another thing, my school just changed the requirements on taking the TEAS. We can only take it, or new applicants can only take it 2 times in a year, and it has to be like a certain amount of time in between. So make sure you look for your school and see how many times you can even take it, because your school may only allow you to take it 1 time. So make sure you're prepared for it, so you won't be in a position to where you have to wait until you can take it again, and you may miss the, you know, deadline to apply for nursing school. You just don't want to get into that. So you just want to be prepared the first time. So I wrote down my scores for my test versus the national mean. So if you hear me say, for example, I made an 80.7 overall on the TEAS versus the 65.6%, which is the national mean for what students take for the TEAS test. So I did way above the national mean, which is good, which led me to be in the 89th percentile, which is very good. I'm so proud of that. Only 11% of people, you know, in the nation made 80.7 or higher, if that makes sense. So I'm giving you guys this national mean just so you can see how I did versus the nation, so you guys can get a better, you know, better picture of how I did. So like I said, 80.7 was my overall test score. The reading section, I made an 83%, and the national mean for the reading is a 72.4. The math section, I made a 90.6%, and the national mean for the math is 68.6%. Okay. Come on, somebody. I know my math. Science, I made a 68%, y'all. Tragic. 68% is what I made. The national mean for the science score of the TEAS is a 57.2%. Okay? English, I made an 83.3%, and the national mean for the English is a 66.3%. So those are my scores for the 3rd time I took the TEAS. Let's go ahead and set our standard high so that when we do good on the test, you can, you know, feel good about yourself, because everybody wants to do good. This is a very important test. This determines if you get into nursing school or if you don't. This determines if somebody gets your spot or if you get somebody's spot. You know what I mean? So take this very seriously. Let's go ahead from the beginning, study, prepare for this, so that when the time comes, when the time comes, you get your score back, you know you're in there. You don't have to worry about I just did, you know, a little bit better than what my school wanted. Let's score higher than what our school wants us to do, so we know, oh yeah, I'm in there. You know what I mean? Especially if your GPA is just average. So this is the thing. If your GPA is average and the only thing they're looking at is your GPA and your TEAS score, you need to have one high so they can balance it out. So if your GPA is just mediocre, you need to have that TEAS out the sky, honey. You know what I mean? Or vice versa. If your GPA is amazing, you may not have to do so well on the TEAS. Now, I'm not saying just, you know, don't take it serious. I'm not saying that. But if you have a GPA high enough, you have some room to play with. So if your school, you know, requires you to make a 75%, and if your GPA is a 4.0, if you get a 75%, you still have a better chance of getting into nursing school because your GPA is perfect, if that makes sense. Not guaranteed, but that's just how to weigh it. So make sure you know your school requirements, know your GPA before you go in to taking the test, so you can see how much you really need to prepare for this test. Alright guys, so let's start with how to study. I know that's what y'all are wanting to know, how to prepare for this. What do I need to buy? Do I need to buy 10,000 books? Do I need to go on the ATI website and buy their study packets? Are they even worth it, me buying it? I'm going to give you the tea, honey. You need two things. And when I say you need it, okay? The first thing, you need this book right here. Y'all probably seen it in other videos. This book, and mine is a little beat up, but honey, I use this book. This is a good book to buy. This is what you need. This is one book. This is all you need. You don't have to buy any other books. The reason this book is so good is because it breaks down the material and it tells you exactly what you need to focus on. I don't recommend using the A&P book. That's what I was using first because I thought most of the questions were going to be A&P, and that was absolutely wrong. Like I said earlier in the video, it's a variety of sciences. So the A&P book may not be the best thing, you know, the best textbook to use for science because it's only A&P. You don't have the chemistry part. You don't have the life science part, the physical science part of this test, if that makes sense. So this book is called, what is it called? ATI Secrets Study Guide, Your Key to Exam Success. So this book really breaks down what you need to know. It doesn't tell you anything more. It doesn't tell you anything less, which takes your time down from studying. You're not studying, you know, unnecessary information, if that makes sense. So definitely get this book, okay? And also, it has so many practice tests in here that you can practice, and so it's just a good thing. It's just a good thing. All right, and the next thing you need to buy, let me get my notes, honey. Here they on the floor. The next thing you need to purchase for this is the second thing, and this is the last thing, is the TEAS Online Practice Assessment Package. It's on ATI. I actually did a little screen recording for y'all. So this package includes 2 practice tests. Now, if you're looking on ATI TEAS, or if you've already been looking on, you know, if you've been deciding on what to purchase, if you want to purchase something on ATI, there's an option to buy one of the tests. They have 2 practice tests online on ATI. So you can, you know, purchase one. You can purchase the practice A test, or you can purchase the practice B test, or you can purchase both of them. And this is what I'm recommending. This is what I did, and just purchase it. It's $80. It may be a little pricey, but it's so worth it. I'm telling y'all, it is so worth it. The way the questions are formatted on these practice tests, when I tell y'all they are exactly like the ACI, not the exact questions, no, not the exact questions, but when I tell y'all it's the same exact format, literally the same exact format. You know how sometimes you're practicing for a test or something, and then when you get on the actual test, it's nothing like what you've been practicing. It's nothing like the questions that you've been you know, studying, and you know, all that kind of stuff. It's the wording, just the format of the questions are exactly like the ATI TEAS test. I can't stress that enough. I probably said that like 4 times in one sentence, But it's so true, and I want y'all to invest in this because you're going to see good results when you get on that TEAS. Even when you're taking the TEAS at the you know, you go to the computer room or whatever, you have the proctor and all that stuff, even the computer, the way it looks is exactly the same. So if you get into a zone where you're practicing, you're pretending like you're actually taking the TEAS, you're looking at it, it's going to be so familiar to you when you're actually taking it, you know, with the proctor, and you'll be nervous, but you won't be as nervous because it's familiar to you, if that makes sense. So definitely purchase that, and I'll also put the link in the description box if y'all just want to go and click right to it. $80, 2 tests, and I also read that it has an A&P test on there too, a practice test on there, in addition to the 2 versions of the practice test. So that's another bonus. And it also tells you at the end, it tells you your score. It gives you the reason as to why you got that question wrong, you know, the rationale behind it. It's not like, oh, you made a 50 on it and they won't tell you what you made or, you know, what you got right and wrong. No, it's going to tell you everything you need to know, and it's going to tell you why you got it right or why you got it wrong. And then it gives you an option to take it again if it's still like that. I took mine in... The third time I took it, it was in August of 2019, I think, and now it's March of 2020. So I feel like it hasn't changed that much. I could be wrong, but I think you're still able to, you know, take it twice, both versions. So if you get the package where you get both tests, that's four chances to take a test, 4 chances to see, you know, how the test is. So that brings me to how to study. So the first thing you want to do is, like I said earlier, check your GPA, check the requirements of your school on what you have to make on this TEAS in order to be accepted into nursing school. If your school requires you to make a 60, you need to be aiming for an 80. I mean, y'all know nursing school is very competitive. It's a very demanding field, and from the get-go, they're going to train you like that. It's not given, it is earned, and I'm learning that in my program right now. Nothing is given to you. Even when and y'all know, nurses in their actual field, nothing is given to them. They have to do this stuff on their own. They have to work for this. They have to take care of these patients, take care of these people, and it's not something that's just taken lightly. So from the get-go, take it serious, okay? This is going to be your ground foundation for your nursing career, your nursing school, and your nursing career. So take it serious from the get-go. So I say you need to be planning 8 weeks before your TEAS, okay? If your TEAS is on March 15th, you need to be starting January 15th, okay? Give yourself, how many weeks? I said 8 times 7, 56 days. Give yourself 56 days to prepare. If you need more, give yourself more. But 8 weeks is plenty enough time, I think, for you to prepare it. Actually, on the ATI website, it says 6 weeks you need to start preparing. So I'm giving you 2 extra weeks. Let's get it. So week 1, and I'm going to be looking down because I wrote it down for y'all. Week 1, you need to be taking the practice A test. You're not studying anything. You're not looking at information. You're not doing anything. You're just going to that first test, test A, practice test A, and you need to see where you're at. That's going to give you a good indicator of, ooh, I didn't do too high on that practice test. This is what I need to work on. This is the subject I need to spend a little bit more time on. This subject I don't really have to touch too much. I mean, it just gives you an indicator of where you stand. So the first week you need to be taking practice A, and you need to start with one subject. So let me explain that. All right, so week 1, you've taken your practice test A and you made a 40. And you're like, what in the world? Okay, I thought I was doing good. It's going to tell you that you ain't, or it's going to tell you that, oh, I made an 80 on it. I did good. And it's going to break down each section, the reading section, the math section, the science, and the English. It's going to break it down for you and tell you exactly what percentage you made on each category, and also your overall score. So by that first test, if your school requires you to make a 60 and you made a 40, you know, I need I need at least 40 more points on this test because I'm trying to make it 80, like we said. We're trying to go 20 points above what we're required to do because we want to ensure our spot in the nursing program. So you figure out what you did good on, what you did bad on, what you need to review. And so week 1 starting, you're going to start with that first section. You're going to start with reading because that's the first section of the TEAS test. We're just going to go in order. So that first week, you're in your Mometrics book and you're going to the reading section. Reading page 2. Let's see. You're going to the reading section and you're reading this entire thing. Look, I just got one little highlighted thing on here. Y'all, I don't really highlight in my books. I started to now that I'm in nursing school. But anyway, you're reading this whole chapter, okay? You're reading the whole thing. You're taking the practice quizzes on the reading section. You're getting really familiar with what they're looking for, what information are they looking for on the TEAS. You're just preparing yourself with only the reading section for that week 1, okay? Week 2, you're going to math. You're going to get your Mometrics book and you're going to go to the math section and you're going to do all those practice problems. You're going to read all that information. You're going to take all those practice tests on the math part. You're just getting really familiar with it, just like so you did with reading. You're just doing the same thing. That's week 2. Week 3, guess what we're going to do? We're going to the science section and we're going in our Mometrics book. Y'all see the pattern? 1 week at a time, 1 week, 1 subject. What week we on? Week 3? Yeah, week 3, we're on science. We're digging into this Mometrics. Now, at this point, you can take your A&P book out if you need to review something that is not, if you're not understanding in this Mometrics book, just as so as when you go to the math section, you're not understanding how to do this certain algebra, equation. Go to Google, go to YouTube, go to, use any other resources that you need to. But this book right here is your foundation because this is what's giving you what is actually on the TEAS, okay? So, week 3, you did science. Last section, week 4, you're going to English. You're doing the same thing, using your Mometrics book. You're reading that whole chapter. You're taking all those practice quizzes, those practice tests, and you're just really familiarizing yourself with this information. So it's week 5 now. We've taken that first test. We see where we stand. We're taking 1 week at a time to go over the reading section 1 week. We're going over the what's the next section? Math section the 2nd week, the science section the 3rd week, and the English section the 4th week. Now we're into the 5th week, and guess what we're about to do? We're gonna take that practice test A again. The retake. We're gonna see how well we were able to grasp that information that we were learning in that Mometrics and outside materials. If you need to, if you need to use outside materials, you're gonna see how much you progressed and how much you really studied and shown yourself approved on that 2nd test, on test A. It's the same exact test. On test A is you get the same test twice. So the first time pre-test, the 2nd time post-test, if that makes sense. That's the best way to describe it. So it's week 5. At this point, you should see some improvement, major improvement, because you've taken 4 weeks, a whole month, to go through each section of the test. So you should see major improvement. Maybe from a 40 to a 50, you went up 10 points, or 40 to a 60, or 40 to a 70. You should see some type of improvement. If you don't see that much improvement, that probably means you aren't studying the way you need to study. And like I told y'all, the ATI practice test on ATI, they are very similar to the TEAS. I'm telling y'all. So if you don't see a major difference between the first time you take the practice test and the 2nd time, you need to go back and study. And at this point, if you do the 8-week the 8-week thing, like I've said, you only have 3 weeks to get it together. So you need to make sure you're spending that time like you need to spend that time on studying to get that information, and get that information quickly, so that practice test A type, round 2, you see a big difference in your grade. So after you've taken the practice test A the 2nd time, you've seen improvement. Now you've also seen what you need to work on, what you struggled on. So you know what we're about to do on week 5 and 6? We're gonna take 2 weeks this time, and we're doing a Mometrics focused study. So what you're gonna do is take the information that ATI gave you on those practice tests on the 2nd, the post test, because that's the most recent one. You're going to take that information, see what it says you need to work on, see what it says you're doing great on, take that and apply it to this book. So at this point, you're not reading this whole book like you did. You've already read it, the whole thing through. You've already done that. Now you're going to specific places in the reading part. I wasn't very good at comprehending. I wasn't good at comprehension, so let me work on that. Let me go to the Mometrics and let me go to Google and let me just look up Google a comprehension quiz or comprehension type test. This is where you're using your resources and if need be to get the best results, because you want to make sure that you are hitting those areas that you are really struggling on or weren't doing so good as other sections. So make sure you take these 2 weeks, because you don't have 2 weeks. We've already spent a month. We've already spent 4 weeks on this. Now we're spending two weeks for 4 sections. So the first time we took 4 weeks for 4 sections. That means 1 section per week, and now we're taking 2 weeks for 4 sections. Still the same 4 sections. So half the week I'm going to do 1 section, and then half of this, the other half I'm doing another section, if that makes sense. So let's just say Sunday through Wednesday I'm doing, what's the first section? Reading. Sunday through Wednesday I'm going to focus review on reading. Then Thursday to Saturday I'm focused on math, if that makes sense. Then your second week comes up, week 6. Sunday through Wednesday, I'm focused on the science section. Then Thursday through Saturday, I'm focused on the English section. So that's your 2 weeks is up. Now we're on week 7 now. We're feeling good. We're studying. We're learning this material. We're getting it we're focused in on what we need to focus on. So week 7 comes, and guess what we're about to do? Let me look at my paper to see what we're about to do. We are taking practice test B. The first time. So this is a totally new test. So even if you got by with practice A, when you retook it, you remember those questions and you're like, oh, I pressed this that time and I got it wrong. Or I pressed that and I got it right the first time, so I'm gonna press it again. I really didn't know it. Test B is gonna get you, because this is a whole different test. So it's gonna really see if you know your stuff. So you're taking practice test B. You're gonna get your results back, and hopefully each test you're hopefully getting better and better. The first time you took practice test A, you made a 40. The second time you took test A, you made a 60. Now you're taking test B, you're taking a totally new test, but you shouldn't be making a 40 on it just because it's test B and you haven't seen it. It's still the same material. It's still over the same 4 subjects, so you should see some improvement. So from a 40 to 60, let's say we get to 65. You want to continuously see improvement. Alright, so it's still week 7. So after we've taken that practice test B, we are now going to do another focused review on using our Mometrics book. I'm not playing with this book, y'all. This is what you need. We only have 1 week or 2 weeks before our test. So this week we are really focused, extra focused on what we are really struggling with. So the first time we reviewed this material, we had a whole week to review over math. We had a whole week to review over reading. We had a whole week to review over English. We had a whole week to review over science. Then I took that test again. I saw I made improvement. Now we got 2 weeks to go over these 4 subjects. I'm going to take test B now. I see I'm improving. Now I got 1 week to go over all 4 of these sections on what I am struggling with. And each time you do this, you should see less and less things that you're struggling with, because you're taking the time to study since week 1. Since week 1, you've been studying. So by week 7, you should not still be struggling on what you were struggling on week 1 if you're taking this serious. Now, some things may be a little bit difficult to understand, and that's what I said. You go to YouTube, you go to, Khan Academy. You do what you need to do. But at this point, we should be, the whole thing is just, we're progressing. We don't want to be wasting our time. We don't want to spend, I forgot how much this was, maybe $20, $30. We don't want to spend $30 on a book that we hardly going to look at. No, we're going to use it. We're going to use it, okay? So week 7, that's what we're doing. We got 1 week to get it together. By the end of week 7, we are taking that practice test B the second time. So we should see major improvement from test A the first time we took test A and to the second time we took test B. You've taken the TEAS 4 times at this point, or 3 times, and on your 4th time. So at this time you should be You should be familiar with how the questions are worded, how the questions, you know, what they're looking for. You should be very familiar with this. So at this point, this should be your highest score if you're doing this correctly. 75. Wow, I wanted to get to an 80, but hey, I'm at a 75. That's still 15 points higher than what my school requires. Do you see where I'm going at this? Because this is, you don't have to be perfect, but you want, like I said, you want to see progression. You want to see slow progress. So even if, like we said from the beginning, we made a 40 the first time, or what did we make, a 60? We want to make an 80. At the end of this, after these 8 weeks, I went from a 40 to a 75. That is major accomplishment, and it depends on you. It depends on you. So if your school requires you to do higher than a 60, if your school requires you to make a 75%, you need to be striving to make a 95 on this test. A 90, 15 points higher than, 15 to 20 points higher than what your school requires, because like I said, you want to guarantee your spot in that nursing program. So that's what you need to do. It's work, it's hard work. I mean, it gets boring sometimes. This information, you're like, dang, I remember learning this way back in the day. Yeah, it brings all what you've learned, to one test, and that's what's difficult about this test. It's not that the questions are hard or anything like that. It's just that it's so broad. It's so much information that you're trying to retain since, 3rd grade, 4th grade. But if you prepare for it, you'll be fine. So now it's week 8. And we've studied hard for these 7 weeks. We've studied hard for these 7 weeks. So this 8th week, I'm going to take it easy. I'm going to look at this Mometrics book again. I'm going to look at what I highlighted. I'm going to look at what I was really struggling on. I'm going to look at the stuff that I was doing really well on. I'm just kind of skimming through this book. I'm, looking at YouTube videos on, how to prepare for it, how to not be so nervous when I'm taking it. So yeah, this 8th week, you're kind of taking it easy. Not going so hard on review, just trying to, you studied for it, you studied hard for it. So now you're just kind of preparing for the actual test going inside. So just take it easy that 8th week, because you deserve it. And anything you need to look over, be free, be more than happy to look over it. So that is my guide onto how to successfully ace your TEAS. Not pass. We don't want to pass. We want to excel, okay? So even if excelling means my school requires a 65, I made an 80 on it, like me, my school required a 65% and I made an 80.7 on it. So we want to excel. We want to make sure that we are doing more than just barely passing, because we don't want to be in that danger zone, especially when it gets time to, receive the news if you've made it in or not. You don't want to be like, oh my God, which everybody's like, oh my God, did I make it in? Even if you made 100 on the TEAS and you got a 4.0, it's still nerve-wracking, but you can kind of dwindle that if you know that you've been working hard through this whole process. Even with prereqs, I say the same thing. Take it very seriously, because it is going to be a time where your past work is going to be reflecting on you, and it's going to be like, did I do what it takes? Did I do what it takes to be in the nursing program? Do I deserve this? Did I, show myself approved through this, these last 2 years taking these prereqs, even when it got hard? Do I deserve it when I took the time to, study for my TEAS, or even the HESI? I know some people take the HESI. Did I show myself approved for it? So just take it very seriously. Like I said, we're wanting to be nurses. We are, y'all know how we are. We're supposed to be diligent. We're supposed to be we're supposed to be diligent is the best way for me to say it. So just make sure you take it serious. I hope these tips helped you. If you decide to use these tips that I gave y'all, if you decide to do the 8-week thing like I've said, please comment and say, yes, it helped me, or girl, no, that did not help, which y'all shouldn't be saying that. If you say that, I know you didn't really do it right. So don't be coming for me in the comments. But seriously, if you do this and you take it serious, ain't no telling what you gonna make. You may make 100 on it. You may make a 90. And like I said earlier, if I would have really, which I did the whole strategy, the whole 8 weeks. I did it, but if I would have done it from the beginning, I wouldn't have had to take it 3 times. I would have made a you know, an 81 to begin with, or even higher if I would have taken it more serious. I really hope y'all like this video. It's been on my heart to do it. I just haven't had time, but now since we're out of school with the, you know, the pandemic going on, I've had time to make a lot more videos for y'all. So just keep looking out for them, and you know, like I said, comment if this helped you, if you're going, if you you know, if you plan on using it, or if you have used it and you made a good grade on it, or even if you made a bad grade. I want all the feedback. So yeah, that's all I have to say. I hope you guys you know, stay safe in this, all this that's going on. Just stay safe, and that's all I'm gonna say about that. Y'all know what we're supposed to be doing. So yeah, I'll see y'all in my next video, and please don't forget to subscribe, like, and tell a friend.